Kyle Brink, the executive director of Dungeons and Dragons, did an interview on a very small channel. Not so much bigger than this one that you guys are watching right now. He went on to the Three Black Halflings channel for a hour and 15-minute interview. There was a lot of things that I watched in this interview, and a lot of things I found very, very weird, because the thought process and the thinking behind it is solely not something that I've ever seen in my life. I've never gone to a level where it pushes the boundaries on something that I'm even surprised is on YouTube. Um, the idea and the thinking behind it, I guess, goes to whatever this critical race theory that people talk about, and the agendas that everyone seems to want to push in these creator spaces. And it's not something that I buy into. It's not something that I will ever buy into, because I look at the individual. I don't look at my skin color. I don't look at who I have sex with. I don't look at this as a quality to determine my employment standards.
In terms of hiring diversity, this actually speaks to one thing that Orion Black said in their statements.
Orion Black, he went by the name of Dungeon Commander on Twitter. He no longer has a Twitter account. It's been deleted. It's July 3rd, and I no longer work for Wizards of the Coast. I no longer work on D&D. The little that I did. This is going to be a long thread as my last for quite a while, so bear with me. Two reasons I took the job. It was my dream job, and the second was to escape poverty, doing what I love, writing and making games. The second was to make D&D welcoming to the millions who are scorned by it. A lot of people had hoped that D&D, that they carried me, while some people were upset to see me work for a corporation that overshadowed indie. Others hoped that I would be able to make real change. I tried, I failed, and I lost a lot. Liking a tweet or post, retweeting, or even following people who speak ill of Wizards of the Coast can lose your job in an instant. That's why you never see it happen. Um, uh, ZBig, I don't know who that is 100% correct. It's a silencing tool. I can say more. I can say more now. So because he's left the company, he can say more about it. This is true. If you look back at the Therese Nielsen situation, she had a couple tweets that she liked or retweeted, a couple people she was following that happened to be against the ideas at Wizards of the Coast and all this other stuff, and there was gigantic outcry, and she was ousted from the community and was never allowed to draw for artwork for Magic the Gathering ever again. I worked very hard for a long time. I had a lot of smiles and vocal support, but it was followed by inaction and being ignored. My coworkers were frustrated for me and still are now. I'm confident in them, often cried on shoulders on a few occasions, meaning he bitched to them a lot of times instead of bringing it forward. I realized at one point that leadership had given me 2 assignments over about 5 months. It was mostly me asking projects leads for work, searching out opportunities. Leadership didn't really care about me or my growth. I had to. So he went out of his way to try and find more work, trying to be forthcoming and forward. Now, I can tell you stuff on the with the big tech. We're seeing a lot of layoffs with big tech. We're seeing that they've been bulked up by a lot, and this could be there isn't enough projects to go around, and this is what happens. You have someone that sits there and goes, well, why am I here if you don't have anything for me? Why am I getting up in the morning, coming to work, and sitting here with a target on my back or a halo on my head, trying to place me out there, trying to say, listen, we put him in this position and it's a good place. I firmly believe I was a diversity hire. There was no expectation for me to do much of anything. I probably disrupted them more by being vocal and following up. It didn't matter if I was supported by seniors and positive. I think genuine people proposed me as an option, and it was accepted because it would look like a radical positive change. It would help quiet the vocal outrage, and because I had to stay silent, it was a safe bet. So here's the thing. He gets hired on as a diversity hire, or what he thinks that he is, a diversity hire. Then he has to sit there and stay quiet. I've lost jobs because I got pushed to the side because I didn't have a status card. That is a very hard place to be, especially considering I know my heritage, and I don't put my heritage first. I put my work ethic. I put myself first, and so having to always try and play this game where you have to sit there and put out your what you look like on the outside. You have to judge the book by the cover and not by the roots of that book. It drives me absolutely bonkers because that's not who I am. That's not who I'll ever be. I judge the people by their qualities and by everything that they do. And if they have a good work ethic and want to sit there and work, people want to do a good job. They shouldn't have to sit there and put up their heritage and put up where they came from. The sins of the father is not what puts forward in everything. It's absolutely ridiculous that this is the world we're living in right now. This was all abolished back in the 80s. There was riots in the streets over this stuff, abolishing this type of thing. And now it's come back forward. And it's no longer about equality around it. It's got to be this equity crap. It's not trying to earn your self in the situations. Why I've been bullied all my life is because I always stood up for myself. I always walked away from those bullies. I always kept what was mine, and it puts me in a different place completely. It's not a kind place to have to sit there and always talk about stuff like this. It's not where I want to be. It's not the content creation I want to make, because I just want to sit there and play games. I want to just have fun. I want to have fun with everyone. But this whole crap that came down with the OGL, and now it's pushing into a direction where you've got to be a from a different culture altogether, or you're not American or Canadian anymore. You literally have to fly halfway across the world to get a job at Wizards of the Coast. Like, that, does that make any sense? I work in a trade, and in the trade that I work, people will come to do the job. You supply them with the tools, you supply them with the proper stuff. They come and they do the job. Everyone has a certain level of respect for the job. You show up, you do your work, and you continue. Trust actions, not words. Not look at the freelance, because freelancing. Anyway, he feels he was a diversity hire. He feels he was hired because of the color of his skin, and that's what you're going to get if that is the situation. Now, when I hear questions like what we have on the Three Black Halflings, and the answer that I get, it really leads me down that path of affirmative action. It leads me down that path of, you're literally hiring because of the color of your skin. And that in itself is racist. It's discriminatory. It puts onto a market that isn't a natural progress of what you want to call diversity. D&D has always been inclusive and diverse in the first place. There's always been, it's been welcoming to everyone out there. And that was even in the statement that Kyle Brink put out there. And then he goes on to this interview and says what he says.
Which is that they believed that they were essentially a diversity hire, which, look, we're all in favor of diversity, but ultimately, I think what makes the difference in a company like this is if you have minority people in positions of power. And while I'm sure that there have been numerous hirings of people from a variety of different minorities, at least in the case of racial minorities, I've met a number of people who, including yourself, who are fairly high up in D&D. And I think every single one of them has been white And also, I think all of them have been cis men. Not to say that everybody there is a cis man, but it seems to be consistently that we have white cis men still at the top of these groups. Can you identify any specific positions of like significant power? Because you got. I mean, even on the D&D team, you've still got Jeremy Crawford. You still got Mike Merles and so forth. What can you identify any specific uh positions that have like higher ranking positions that have been filled by people of say racially diverse backgrounds?
I gotta really say, what a loaded question this is. This is a question that is completely set up for a response that you're never going to succeed in. This question alone, is there people that are in places of power that are racially diverse? Like, what kind of thinking is this? Like, if someone turns to me and says, "Are you racially diverse?" I sit there and go, "Well, my grandfather was black. He fought in World War II. My grandmother is descendant from a Chinese and Native lady, and my dad on my dad's side, I'm related down to Napoleon Bonaparte." Like, I sit here and I go, what? Where do you want this? We live in America and Canada. We live in the melting pot. Everyone is racially diverse.
I think if you look at the credits of our books, you'll see some lead designers there who are not cis men. You will also see a lot of primary authors on sources. These are folks who are coming up through the ranks and proving themselves and earning their respect, not because of who they are, but because of how they are as professionals, which is the best kind of respect, right? You know, you don't want to be respected because you're the diversity hire. You want to be respected because you're awesome at your job.
I gotta say, I have to completely agree with that. You need to be respected for how awesome you are at your job. That doesn't put the color of your skin before that.
And that's happening more and more. Look, guys like me, we're leaving the workforce, to be blunt, and we're also not. This is not the face of the hobby anymore. I'm not the majority of this hobby anymore, and so it's important to me that my team of creators look like my players and have the lived experience that my players do. And I think there's been mistakes made in years past where people assumed that D&D players were all, white dudes in a basement, which has been a faulty assumption for a lot of years and gets more and more false every day.
Once again, 100% correct. It's not the actual demographic or stereotype. I don't even know where the stereotype came from. Where someone, seriously, if you're down in the comment section, point me to where this stereotype happened. Tell me where all of a sudden everyone that was playing D&D at some point was all white guys. Like, that's what they're saying here. They never were. Even in his statement, it's a diverse and inclusive environment. It always has been.
And so it's, in my viewpoint, honestly, guys like me can't leave soon enough for this hobby. And we owe you good games. We owe you good products. And so we need to make sure that everybody working on it is real good at it. And that means not just hiring, but also developing, right? When we bring people in who are good, we need to empower them, give them more room to run, give them guidance on what we learned when we were creating stuff so that they can create great stuff too. And then, I always hire people smarter than me so that I can get out of their way. That's my approach. And so as long as we stay on this trajectory, yeah, this is the face of D&D will literally change.
What in the world do you mean guys like yourself getting out of the hobby? Getting out of the way? Like, why in the world do you want people to leave the hobby? They're the ones that supply the money for the hobby. This is why Hasbro stock is in the tank. This is why this company is starting to go bankrupt. This is why they're laying off 15% of their workforce. And is that 15% of the workforce going to be discriminatory? Are they going to literally lay off 15% of the workforce because they're white? Like, this is absolutely racial tensions to the max. This is ridiculous. It's not anything I subscribe to. It dumbfounds me. People aren't given an equal chance. That because of how you look on the outside is what's going to determine if you still are employed or if you get fired the next day, that's not that's discrimination. That's racial tensions, that's discrimination. It's absolutely ridiculous to tell people like yourself, because you see yourself as the white man. It's a disservice and a dishonor to everything that people have that died for. People went to wars over this crap, and now it's step aside because you can no longer have the job because the color of your skin is white. I don't even know what to say to half of this stuff. I've grown up in a very unique, it feels like a very unique situation at this point, in the melting pot of North America, and I'm Canadian. I grew up to with the golden rule to do unto others as you wish to be done unto you. Like I just want people to be treated with respect and to be seen as somebody, not as the color of their skin. This is absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know where to go with this. For me, this isn't entertainment. This is a form of abuse, and seeing this from Wizards of the Coast come out and Kyle Brink being in the position he's been in for 7 months and to come out and make these types of statements. A lot of the interview was talk about the Hazodi, how they were seen as a racial thing throughout history because they're a monkey race, and then for some reason they equate the monkey race as it does to black people, which is not true. They were monkeys given a formula. They were enslaved as humanoid monkeys, and then the wizard was killed and they were freed. That's part of it. Like there is old school adventures for D&D where you literally go in and free the slaves, and that was the storytelling of the story, and that's the history of the Hazodi race. That was the history of it. But they've erased that. That's no longer what happened. That was half of what this talk was about. It wasn't even about the OGL. It was that, and then they touched on how the stuff with like the new TSR situation coming out, how with Star Frontiers, literally they wrote in the new Star Frontiers that they were trying to print out, they literally wrote in an Aryan race into it, which was what people fought for in World War II. It was absolutely racist, and there was fears that the OGL, if they didn't do this update to the OGL and bring it under their wing, then they couldn't prevent people from writing stories like that. No, the market is going to tell you if these stories are going to succeed or not. Write that story. The market's going to tell you to go to hell very, very quickly because it's a racist nightmare. The whole controversy with the OGL was Wizards of the Coast trying to update the OGL like Microsoft updates Windows. They put it out on the Creative Commons, and that was not the purpose of the interview. The purpose of the interview was to say there needs to be more minorities in the power of Wizards of the Coast and in positions of power because the color of their skin is different. Like what? I'm sorry. I found that interview very insulting to gamers alike. I found it personally insulting. It's not something I subscribe to, and I thought a lot of people at Wizards of the Coast could be better, but they've shown them their true colors time and time and time again, that this company just doesn't get it. They put it all up there. They need to put this shield up there and show to the world that this is who we are on the outside, but when you dig deep into them on the inside, they're not like that. I just don't get. You know what? I'll admit it. I don't get it. Everyone want to sit there and tell me in the comments how I'm completely wrong and how I'm doing the wrong thing here by speaking up and saying stuff. No. What this company has done has completely divided the way people think and the way people live their lives. people want to play the game. Like, it more makes me pity Wizards of the Coast, because I used to look up to them. I used to sit there and say, listen, this is a game I want to play. This is a game I want to be a part of. And I don't anymore. Like Magic the Gathering, I've turned away from because of corporate decisions they've made in the game, not because of the racial decisions they've made. Yes, the artwork has gone completely downhill. It's nowhere near what it used to be. It's not, the openness of the artwork is no longer there. This is not an easy video for me to sit there and do, because I don't like to sit there and talk about this type of thing on the internet. It's something that I tend to keep to myself, and I think there's a lot that is wrong with having to sit there and talk about it. And you know what? The people that stood up and rioted back in the 80s, they were doing it for a purpose, and it was because racial tensions were at an all-time high. And for some reason, we're going back into that mode, and it doesn't make sense. You know what? I have a kid that I'm raising, and now, is it going to be because of the color of his skin he's going to be racially judged? Like, that doesn't make any sense. As a human being, that doesn't make any sense. And you know what? I'll give an example here. My aunt, solely, like, if you look at the color of her skin, she is literally black. You look at her and everyone sits there and go, well, okay, yeah. She had a daughter. She was taking her daughter swimming, and she was asked by the people at the swimming pool if she was just the nanny, because of how dark skinned her color was and how white her child was. Like, this is the place we're going to. My cousin, who is only a few years younger than me, and my aunt was racially profiled back in the 80s and 90s. And now we're going back into that because we're saying, oh, because the person in power is not black, we can't have white people playing the game. That's the statement I got from that interview. To create this as a black and white thing is racist. Come play the game. Go play the game. Find friends. Find a group. D&D is not one of those easy things that you just pick up. You've got to be friends. I find you got to actually make friends with the people that you're playing with. It's not so much you roll dice and make a character. There are places you can do that, but it's generally in a more structured play. If you're friends, you're completely different. It's a completely different experience. And your DM gets to know the group very well. Well, anyway, that's a video. That's I'm gonna leave it there because there's not much more I can say to this topic. I don't know, maybe my unique circumstance puts me in a completely different category. Maybe I've grown up differently and with a sense of that people are willing to be good down deep. But whatever. Hasbro wants to do short-term games and just burn the long-term profits and completely burn the company to the ground. Well, that's their company. Have fun. I'm your proud Canadian Phoenix, Sin Shadow. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a good day.